Hey everyone, COE33 here. Happy New Year's. It's 2018, and that means one thing. It's time for our annual full game rooms tour. We're going to take a look at both the upstairs and the downstairs game room in detail. It's going to be a nice long video for you guys, and I'm looking forward to this because a lot has changed over the year, especially in this downstairs game room. Leaf and I took on a lot of DIY projects. We added a lot of games to the collection, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. Now, if you just want kind of a quick overview of what we have in the collection, I went ahead and took some B-roll that you guys can watch. And after that plays, come on back, stick around, and we'll go on a nice long tour of both game rooms. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that overview, and why don't we just get right into it and start taking a look at the collection. And what better place to start than over here on our Nintendo shelf. Now, this little media shelf is a DIY project that Leaf and I took on, and we actually did a video sharing the process of building this, and that was a lot of fun, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. And yeah, why don't we get just right into it. Here's our Wii collection, and this is definitely one of our favorite systems to play and to collect for. And we have a lot of the titles that we want. There's not too many games left for the Wii that we're really looking forward to picking up. There's still, you know, a handful of games that we want to get. And but for the most part, this collection is filled in really well, and we're really happy with it. We've got, you know, the Xenoblade Chronicles, and we've got the Kirby collection, and we've got all the Mario games, and a little signage there for new Super Mario Brothers Wii, and the Red Steel box set, and the Super Mario All-Stars, and Pandora's Tower, and The Last Story. And it's nice to have all three Operation Rainfall games in the collection. And Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn, really stoked to have that in the collection. And of course we got the Zelda games on the Wii, which are a lot of fun, and I really enjoy playing. And just a bunch of games that we've picked up over the years while game hunting, out and about, whether it's at garage sales or at thrift stores. Leaf and I enjoy tracking down these games and displaying them and playing them. And yeah, just a cool collection. I love the Wii. It's a lot of fun. Now, we still have our original launch Wii that we picked up when the Wii came out, and it's still working great. And I forget what year that was, like 2008, something like that. 2006 maybe. I can't quite remember at the moment. But it's been a while, so the fact that that thing is still working as well as it does is great because between Leaf and I, we put a lot of hours into the Wii. And then, of course, after the Wii, that was a huge success, and Nintendo followed it up with the one and only Wii U. And this did not do as well, but I still really enjoy the Wii U. I think it's a great system. And although there's not a huge amount of games for it, I think there's 141 North American Wii U games, something like that. And definitely a small library. But in that library, there's a lot of solid titles. So we've got some different games here. Zelda, The Wind Waker HD. We've got Rodea Sky Soldier, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Gianna Sisters Twisted Dreams, Director's Cut, the SteamWorld Collection. I really enjoy those SteamWorld games. I actually just finished playing SteamWorld Dig 2 the other night, and I love that. Shovel Knight, of course. I'm sure a lot of you have played that. And just a lot of great titles here. We got, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, and Smash Brothers Wii U, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Yoshi's Woolly World, Splatoon, and there's Animal Crossing. Now Leaf loves that game. Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. She plays it all the time. And we got the Star Fox Zero box set, which is awesome. And Super Mario Maker. And of course Bayonetta 2. So definitely some solid titles there. And we're looking forward to collecting more Wii U games in the future. It wouldn't take much to go for a complete set. Now I'm not sure about that. It would be kind of a fun goal just to do for the channel. And be fun to try to achieve that goal, and you guys can go on that journey with us. So that's certainly something we may end up doing. But for the time being, we're enjoying playing the games that we have. And then moving up here, of course, is Switch. And I love the Switch. I've been getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's definitely my favorite current generation console. And right now I'm playing Super Mario Odyssey, which I got for Christmas. And I'm loving it. It's awesome. Great game. And we also have Super Bomberman, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 1-2 Switch, Has-Been Heroes, The Binding of Isaac, Tiny Barbarians, and then, of course, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I've definitely put a lot of hours into that. And we have the box, and then we've got a little Link amiibo. And then up top here we have some of our Wii accessories. We've got a couple games, and then, of course, our original Wii box, which is really nice to have in the collection. Moving down here, we've got some posters, including our Wii poster, and then we have some Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild posters there, which look pretty sweet. And this is where we keep all our kind of modern-era Nintendo games. Now, all the carts, like the NES carts and the N64 carts and the SNES carts, are all upstairs, and we'll take a look at those in a little bit. Now, moving over here, we've got kind of our Amiibo / Mario display. And we have the N-level display here, which the Amiibo are on, and I really like this thing. It's very cool. And it kind of replicates the end of Super Mario Brothers when you climb up and you jump off onto the pole. And it's very cool. Definitely enjoy it, and a nice way to display our Amiibos. And as far as Amiibo go, we have Mario, Peach, Luigi, Toad, Yoshi. Of course, we got Star Fox there. And then we have a Bowser, and our Wii U box lives back here. And we did kind of a custom little display here. We printed out some kind of like Mario Brothers backdrop, basically with the clouds and the little question blocks. And we put those to kind of just a nice little touch to customize our little display here. And then we have the Amiibo Festival box. And we have a Chibi Robo Ziplash box and the Wii U Mario Kart 8 wheel, and some more Splatoon amiibos and Animal Crossing amiibos. And then moving up here, we have the kind of original Super Mario Brother games on the NES. So we have Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt Combo Kart, Super Mario Brothers 2, Super Mario Brothers 3, and then we have Dr. Mario, and then just the regular Super Mario Brothers kart. And I grew up with the NES. And the first game I ever got was the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt Combo Kart, and a lot of fond memories growing up playing that. And it's really where I fell in love with video games. And I only had a handful of games for a very long time, but I played those things constantly, especially Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and absolutely loved them back then. And it's great that even now the Mario games are well represented, and Nintendo's doing a great job making those games, and I think they're all quite brilliant, including the latest one. So it's awesome that that kind of has continued over the years, and those games are still loved by fans, and it's really awesome. And we have our custom NES here, and that has a stenciled Mario on top, and we did the gold and red paint job on that. Now that NES was all beat up and it didn't work, so that was a good candidate to customize like that. I wouldn't really want to customize an NES that was in good shape and working, just because you kind of want to preserve those for historical reasons. But as I said, that one was all beat up and it wasn't working, so I went ahead and changed out the 72-pin connector, fixed it all up, and then went ahead and painted over it. And really happy with the way that came out. And then we do have just kind of a normal toaster NES upstairs as well that has not been customized. A Yoshi amiibo, and then we've got a little Goomba hanging out on the NES there, so that's pretty awesome. And this does work great, and it's easy enough just to pull out and add, or not add, but hook up to this TV here. Speaking of this TV, this is our Sony Trinitron, and this is a great TV for retro gaming. In my opinion, original consoles on original hardware is the way to go, and definitely on a CRT TV you don't have the lag. And for someone that grew up with this style of TV, it's kind of nostalgic, and it's not only a superior way to play in my opinion, but there's a little nostalgia there too as well. So I definitely love having a CRT television. Also, the aspect ratio is the 4:3 aspect ratio, which is what you want for these older retro games. Currently we have one of my favorite games of all time, Streets of Rage 2, playing on our Sony Trinitron. And love this game, huge Sega Genesis fan. And why don't we go ahead and take a look at some of the consoles that we have hooked up here. We've got our Sega Genesis Model 1, and that's, if you're going to collect for Sega Genesis, I would say the Model 1 is where it's at. It's got the headphone jack with the stereo out, and it's just a superior model of the Genesis. And then hooked up to that, we have the 32X, which is awesome to have, and definitely look forward to sharing our 32X collection with you. We have a complete set upstairs, and that was a fun goal to collect for on the channel as well. We have a little handheld Sega Genesis, a little portable system. Now Leaf plays that quite a bit. If you follow the channel, you know that Leaf loves her handhelds, and she really enjoys that, and she's always playing Sega Genesis on that little handheld. We've got a Nintendo 64. Now, I did not have a Nintendo 64 growing up, so I don't have a lot of nostalgia for it, but I certainly recognize that there's a lot of great games, and people do love the N64. I would say that doesn't get as much use as a lot of the other consoles in our collection, but I'm hoping over time that changes, and I definitely want to start getting into those games and trying to enjoy them. Over here we got our Nintendo GameCube with the Game Boy player on it, attached to it. Now we still do need the Game Boy player disc so that that Game Boy player works, but the GameCube is hooked up and it does work well, and definitely cool to have. And then moving down here we have the black Wii, and then we have a original Sony PlayStation 1, which is definitely one of my favorite systems. I love the PS1. So many great games, so many great franchises that got their start on the PlayStation 1. I still play that all the time. I was just playing a little original Tomb Raider the other day. Leaf and I were playing some Resident Evil the other day. It's just a lot of fun to go back and play those games, and that still gets a lot of use, and it works like a champ. And speaking of consoles that I really enjoy, the original Xbox, and I was lucky enough to have one of these when they came out. I actually, at the time, I couldn't afford it, and I really wanted one. But I was on a lunch break at work one day, and just on a kind of a whim, I decided to put a quarter in a video poker machine, and sure enough, I hit a royal flush, which the odds on that I believe are like 1 in 52,000 or something like that. It's very uncommon to get a royal flush, and I won a bunch of money, and I couldn't believe it. And I went ahead and went right over to the GameStop, and I picked up an original Xbox, and I think it was Morrowind, and boy was I a happy camper. And I love the original Xbox. There's so many great games for it, and that's another system that I really enjoy playing and collecting for even to this day. And then, let's see, on top of the Wii here, or no, not on top of the Wii, excuse me, on top of the Sony Trinitron, we have a little Wii signage, which is kind of cool, and it fits in a little groove on top of the TV really well, so that's where that lives. And then moving over here, we've got the start of our Neo Geo MVS collection, and we've got World Heroes 2, and which was donated to the channel by Neo Turbo Maniac, and certainly really appreciative of that. And then we have a couple other Neo Geo games that I'm waiting to get the shock boxes for to put on the shelf. And then we have Metal Slug, which is awesome and one of my favorite games. And we have our Game Hunters Blu-rays there, Spooktacular 2016 and 2017. And next to that is our very small GameCube game, or GameCube collection, excuse me. Now this is another kind of console that I did not have at the time. When that came out, I did not have a GameCube, so I don't have nostalgia for. Although, again, like the N64, I certainly appreciate the library. And although our collection's small, we do have some pretty solid titles like Luigi's Mansion, and then we've got Star Wars Rogue Leader, and Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Monkey Ball, and Mario Party 4, and F-Zero GX, and Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. So some solid titles there, but there's certainly a lot of room to grow there. And looking forward to doing that. And then next to that, we have a Master Sword letter opener, which is awesome. And then we have our stereo receiver, and this is hooked up to the Trinitron, and we do have the 5.1 channel surround sound hooked up in here, and that's all hooked up with a subwoofer there. So it's really cool because when you play these consoles here, it's all run through the surround sound, and it sounds really good. And it's awesome, just a really cool way to play on a nice big CRT television with a nice surround sound setup is very cool. And it's definitely got that kind of 90s retro vibe here with the older stereo receiver and the older Trinitron. So I was able to get all these at thrift stores. I think they all came from like Goodwills or St. Vincent de Paul, something like that. Moving up here, we've got our Atari 2600 collection. And I had an Atari 2600. It wasn't the first console I ever had. The first console I had was an NES. And then at some point, I got Atari 2600. Now, by the time I got it, it was already a little bit old school compared to what I was used to playing. But I loved it, and I had a bunch of games for it, including like Barnstorming and Pitfall, and a bunch of other solid titles. And I'm really stoked to have all these games for it now, and discovering a lot of these games that I had never played. Every once in a while, Leaf will come in here, Leaf and I will come in here, we'll grab a game that we haven't played, and we'll hook it into the Atari 2600. And that's always a good time. Definitely an awesome system. Now there's our Portland Retro Gaming Expo 10 Atari 2600 cart that we picked up at PRGE, and really stoked to have that. And we got some cool titles. We got Ghostbusters and Sorcerer's Apprentice and Pitfall 2, a boxed wall ball there. We got Mario Brothers and Spy Hunter, and we've got our Supercharger there, which is a kind of a sought-after little accessory. And then we've got our Atari 2600, the mini one there. And then we have over here, this is hooked up to the Trinitron. We have our Atari 2600 4-switch, and that works great, and it's a lot of fun to play. Moving up here, we have a Call of Duty Infinite Warfare poster. Above that, we have some Magnavox Odyssey games. Now, we do not have an Odyssey, so one of these days we'll get one. And until then, that's where those live. And then we've got our original Wii that's still plucking away, still working like a champ. And then we got some more Wii games over here. And let's see, we've got Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz, and we got the Wii Fits and the Wii Fit Pluses. And then some solid titles up here, including Castlevania Judgment, Castle of Shikigami 3, Dead Space Extraction, Sin and Punishment, The House of the Dead 2 and 3 Returns, The House of the Dead Overkill, Mad World, and Dragon Quest and Swords. So pretty cool. And of course we got some nunchucks and some Wiimotes there. In the light box right now, the Sonic Mania Collector's Edition statue is hanging out. And definitely enjoyed Sonic Mania. Awesome throwback to old school Sonic, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of that. Now, I actually ended up getting kind of stuck on the last level, and it took me a while to be able to beat it, but finally I was able to beat it fairly recently, and that was a great game, a good experience playing through that. We have our Game Hunters light box, and just kind of a cool way to show a little TGH spirit. And then we have, for the Xbox One, we have our Just Cause Collector's Edition. And then, of course, the Neo Geo X Gold, which we don't really use anymore because we have a Neo Geo arcade cabinet. But this thing is kind of collectible and it's got a little value to it. So nice to have in the collection. And then we have the Game Hunters Perler piece there that Leaf and I made. And of course in the corner here we have our laser lights, which just kind of look pretty sweet there in the corner. And we're always thinking of different ways to display our collection and make this game room as fun and as cool as possible. And then we have the King of Fighters 14 poster, which a viewer of the channel generously donated to us, and we picked up a frame for that not too long ago and have it proudly displayed there, and I think it looks pretty awesome. Up top we have some more goodies. We've got some amiibo, and we've got the Mario Kart RC car, and we've got what's collector's edition for the PlayStation 3, the Aliens Colonial Marines. And we got the Congos from Donkey Kong Jungle Beats. And we've got the Star Wars vinyl figure, the Sand Trooper and the Dewback there. And then we got R2-D2, and we got some Skylanders, and we got the Super Mario Brothers Hot Wheels, and lots of just different miscellaneous kind of fun stuff there. And this is always kind of changing a bit, and that kind of is a theme with both game rooms. We're both, Leaf and I, enjoy just kind of tinkering, organizing, moving things around. And part of the, having this YouTube channel is that we enjoy getting everything together and presenting it well so that you guys have, fun things to look at. And when we do these game room tours, that we present the game rooms well so that it's interesting for you guys. Moving over here, we have the Tomb Raider Shrine. Now, if you follow the channel, you know that I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan, and I always have been since the first game came out. And I love this thing. It's so cool that, we can have a Tomb Raider Shrine in the collection. And you guys always like to send us Tomb Raider stuff, which we certainly appreciate. And this has grown a lot over the years. And we got lots of goodies in here, so why don't we take a look? Starting up top, we got the Tomb Raider Chronicles box for the PC, and I really like those boxes. They got kind of a trapezoid shape there, and they're just really awesome looking. And then we've got the Rise of the Tomb Raider Collector's Edition for the PC, and there's the statue that came in there. And then we have a pretty sweet Tomb Raider kind of a figure there in the back, and she's in her wetsuit, and we picked that up at one of the expos that we go to and got a good deal on that. And then why don't we just get into the shrine? Now, I went ahead and took some camouflage fabric and lined the shrine with that a while ago. Just a little touch to make it pop and make it look nice in here, and display our collection as well as possible. And it's getting pretty full in here. As you can see, we got a lot of Tomb Raider stuff, which I'm definitely stoked about. And it's fun to come in here and move things around and then pick out a game to play. And when these games first came out, especially the first Tomb Raider, here it is right here for the PlayStation. So when this came out, I remember reading about this in PlayStation Magazine and just being really hyped for it. I couldn't wait for it to come out. And it was kind of pretty revolutionary at the time. I mean, just going through these caves, and these wolves are coming after you, and these bats, and there's these puzzles and all these secrets, and it's almost like you're Indiana Jones. And I remember just really being stoked on it. And I picked it up at a Target, and I brought it home and popped it in the old PlayStation, and just fell in love with the franchise right then and there. And I'm really happy that the new Tomb Raider games are as good as they are. Rise of the Tomb Raider and then the Tomb Raider reboot, which you can see right there. I think they're doing a great job bringing this franchise into the modern era, because there were a few years there where the Tomb Raider games have gotten pretty stale and weren't that great in my opinion. For me, I love the original PlayStation 1 era Tomb Raider games, and then on the Dreamcast as well. And then when they started getting to the PlayStation 2 era, not so much. But I still have a lot of love for the franchise in general. And then we've got some more collectibles here. We got some Tomb Raider statues, and Tomb Raider games, and Tomb Raider knickknacks, and doodads, and posters, and art prints. And yeah, just pretty awesome. Moving down here, we got the Tomb Raider limited edition book. And then we have this sweet vinyl figure that we just got in a We Got Mail episode. And some more figures. And this is one of my favorite figures right here, Tomb Raider Lara Croft versus the Yeti. And she's hanging there, she's rappelling on a rope, and she's got her shotgun, and she's shooting the Yeti there who's going after her. I just really like that. I think it's so cool. And then moving down here, we have some more Tomb Raider stuff, including the Lara Croft Tomb Raider bust, the journal, the memory card for the PlayStation 1, and then we have some Blu-rays and HD DVDs, and we got Tomb Raider on the definitive edition on the Xbox One there. And just lots of cool stuff. So definitely one of the highlights of the game room. And look forward to adding more to this over the years. And hopefully they're working on another Tomb Raider game, because I'm itching for a little Tomb Raider action. Speaking of Tomb Raider, there she is, Lara. She's on my wallpaper right there. Now this is our PC setup, and this is where Leaf and I film the majority of our videos. So if you're interested in how we film our videos and what we use, that is the Blue Snowball mic. And for the price, I think it works pretty well. And then when I'm editing videos, I use those Bose headphones there that you can see on the mic. And those are great. And then I have a little, like a PlayStation controller coffee mug there. And then some of our broken consoles, I have just kind of filling space there. We have an Xbox that doesn't work and a PlayStation 2 that doesn't work. And those are just there for filler, basically. They don't actually serve a purpose. And then, of course, this does have to be a functioning office for me, because I do work from home. And I've got a postal scale, and I've got tape, and I've got my laptop, and then I've got my PC that I built. Now, I built this particular PC in 2006, so it's starting to show its age a little bit. If you're interested in this kind of thing, it's a Intel i5 processor. I did upgrade the graphics card when Fallout 4 came out, so it's a AMD R9 390X, and it's got a Corsair modular power supply and SSD and all that good stuff. So it's a good little rig, but it's a little bit older now. Now I did just this summer build a nice small form factor gaming PC that I put out in the living room that has a GTX 1080 Ti in it and an M.2 SSD drive, and it's pretty sweet. It's got a Ryzen CPU in it, and I love to sit out in the living room and game on that. And maybe we'll take a look at that too. I think we might go out in the living room here in a little bit and take a look at that setup, because I think you guys might be interested in that, because we do have some modern consoles out there, and that's how I play the majority of my games, at least my modern era games. And we got multiple monitor setup here. We have an Asus monitor here, and then our webcam that we use is the Logitech C, C920? I think that's what it's called, and that's a great 1080p webcam. I would like to upgrade that to a 4K webcam at some point. The best option at the moment seems to be the Logitech Brio, so that may be an upgrade that we do on the channel, or maybe something better will come out. Either way, that would be nice to upgrade, but certainly it serves its purpose well for the time being. And then this monitor here, this is actually a TV, an older TV that I got at a garage sale for, I think it was $5, $10, something like that. It was real cheap. And this is how I have my Steam collection displayed. And I'm not sure how many games I have there. I don't know, 160 something, I think. And then above that is a Doom poster, which is pretty sweet. And then we have a PlayStation 3 little wall display here. And we've got these little floating shelves, and everybody asks about these little shelves. They're called Seedeez, Seedeez, because every time I show them on the channel, people want to know what they are. I don't believe this company's in business anymore. And we keep finding them at Goodwills locally. And I think what happened is the company went out of business, and they offloaded all their inventory to local Goodwills, because even to this day, years after I found the first box, I still find them. I actually found one just a couple weeks ago that I bought, and I usually find them for like $1, maybe a couple dollars at most. And I always pick them up when I see them, because we have them all over the place, and they work great. And right now we have some PS3 games up here. We got the Uncharted series, which I love, some of my favorite games. And of course The Last of Us, which was a masterpiece, and I can't wait for The Last of Us 2. And then we got the Castlevania PS3 games, and of course BioShock 2, another amazing game. And speaking of amazing games, Fallout New Vegas, which arguably is the best of the Fallout games. Of course, everyone has an opinion on that, and they're all good in my opinion. I enjoy all of them. And then we have a PS3 controller and just a little wall display there. And then the PC that I built, and that's on a filing cabinet with office work and all that, and just some more office stuff, including a printer. And then moving over here, we have some just kind of random stuff up here. We got a Terminator head, and we got the Dark Souls statue there, and we have our $5 boxed PlayStation, which was one of our better garage sale scores. And Leaf and I often go On the Hunt. That's one of the series we do on this channel where we do live game hunting, and we go garage selling, we go thrift stores, and we take you on that journey with us, and we share our pickups, but we also share the process of going game hunting, and it's some of our favorite videos to do. And hopefully we'll have another On the Hunt coming very soon, because we're itching to do a little game hunting. And we were game hunting, and we went to a garage sale, and there were no games out and about, but like I always do, I asked, you got any games? I start listing off things, PlayStation, Nintendo, Sega, and she goes, oh, I have an old PlayStation, I didn't think anybody would want it. And she went ahead and took us over and showed us this, and it was a boxed PlayStation, and this was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and which is pretty late for garage selling. And I said, how much do you want? She said $5. So that was definitely a pretty epic score, and really stoked to have that in the collection. And then we have a Wii lunch pail and a Predator action figure, and I'm a huge fan of the Predator movies, especially the first one. It's one of my favorite movies, and stoked to have that. And then we have some more like boxed collector's editions, like the Sonic Mania, and Dead Island Riptide, and Doom, and Call of Duty Ghosts. And we got the Mafia 3 collector's edition with the little vinyl record in there, which is sweet. And then my comic book collection that I've been hauling around with me for many years. And we got some Xbox One headphones. I think those are the Turtle Beach 420Xs, I believe. They're wireless, and they're a decent little pair of headphones. I do enjoy using those. And then a little drone. And this print here, which is pretty sweet. It's kind of an imploded view of an Atari 2600 cart, but it's got like the playfield from Pac-Man in the middle there, which is kind of cool. And then over here we've got some pretty sweet stuff, including our Pip-Boy from the Fallout Collector's Edition, the Fallout 4 Collector's Edition, and the Power Loader, which Aliens, the second one, is one of my favorite movies from the 80s, and that scene at the end with the Power Loader is one of my favorite scenes. Now this is from the Colonial Marines collector set, but it's still awesome, even though that's not Ripley in there. But still pretty sweet. And then we've got our Final Fantasy collection, another series that I absolutely love. And now I started getting into Final Fantasy when Final Fantasy VII came out. I wasn't one of those kids that played RPGs growing up. I was more into platformers and fighters and shooters and stuff like that. And then as I started to get a little bit older in my teenage years, and Final Fantasy games on the PlayStation, now that's when I started getting into RPGs. And I fell in love with RPGs in my teen years, and in particular the Final Fantasy series. 7, brilliant. I mean, I played all the way through 7, 8, and 9. Now 9's probably actually my favorite Final Fantasy, and I know most people say like 7, or I don't know, what's another popular one? Maybe the SNES era Final Fantasy games are really popular. But I really loved the PS1 era games, and 9 has kind of a fantasy whimsy about it that I really enjoy. I like the characters, and it's just one of my favorite games. And of course 7 and 8 are also awesome as well. We have the Final Fantasy 15 Deluxe Edition. I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun playing through that. And we have the original Final Fantasy on the NES, which stoked to have that. And then we have some collector's editions, and just all kinds of great Final Fantasy stuff, and just another franchise it's a lot of fun to collect for and to play. And speaking of franchises that are fun to collect for and play, the Fallout collection. And I love the Fallout games, and Fallout 3 kind of blew my mind. And then I was waited in line when Fallout New Vegas came out, and I was there at midnight. And I don't usually do that, but it was kind of a fun thing to do. and I went ahead and did that, and I got this deck of playing cards at the Walmart when I picked it up at midnight for the launch, and that's cool. And then we have some Nuka-Cola caps there, and we've got a little Rad Roach, and we've got some Pop Vinyl figures, and we got the Pip-Boy edition, and the Fallout Anthology mini Nuke there, which is pretty sweet, and just an awesome franchise, and a lot of fun to play. And I'm kind of interested in trying Fallout 4 in VR. I saw that that came out, and I don't have a VR headset, but I'm sure at some point I'll get one. I don't know if I'm going to get one this current gen, or I'm going to wait for the next generation to come out, because I think they're kind of ironing out some kinks right now, and the new generation might be wireless from what I'm seeing. So I don't know. I'm going to hold out probably and see what they do, or just wait for a really good deal on a VR headset just to try it out, because Fallout in VR, even though it looks a little bit wonky, does look appealing to me. It might be a lot of fun, so who knows. Moving down here, we have our Indie Box collection, and Leaf and I subscribe to Indie Box, and we would open these up on the channel, and we have a bunch of them. It's actually 2 rows deep there, so we were subscribed for quite a while, and we've got some pretty cool boxes here, including the Axiom Verge Indie Box, which is actually fairly collectible. That was a low print run of those, and it came with this awesome Axiom Verge bookend there, and really stoked to have that. And yeah, these things are really cool. They got nice collectibles in them. They have DRM free versions of the games, and it was just a fun service to subscribe to. We kind of started running out of shelf room, so I went ahead and canceled our subscription. But I do enjoy the ones that we have in the collection, and they definitely look nice there on the shelf. A little shelf candy. Moving over here, we've got our Retron 5, which is really handy to have here. Now this is great to have because oftentimes when I'm filming like say a rapid fire pickups, or we came home from On the Hunt, if you watch the channel, you know that Leaf will be in the background playing a game. And what we do is we'll take a game, we'll put it in the Retron 5 here, and then we have it hooked up to our AverMedia portable capture card there. And we have that hooked up to this TV. Now this TV is awesome. This is a new TV, but it has a retro look to it. It's got, you know, like the knobs and dials like an old TV would have, and it's got that retro vibe to it. But the nice thing about this is it has a 1080p panel. It's got a lot of hookups, including like VGA and HDMI and component, so that's really nice. And then also has great sound. It actually has a subwoofer built into it, and the sound on this thing is really impressive. So this is a nice little combo with the Retron 5 hooked up to this particular TV. Is a really sweet way to play games, and I'm stoked to have this. And I don't know if they sell them anymore. I don't believe these are in production anymore, so I'm glad that I jumped on it when I did. And that AverMedia capture card works like a champ. I have not had any problems with that, and it's really convenient because it records to an SD card, and that's nice. And if you guys are ever interested in any of the items that we use in our game room, for example, that capture card or anything like that, we do have links to that in the description. We have an Amazon page that's set up that has a lot of the items in our game room that you guys can check out, including like our mic and our webcam and our capture card, and then some of the different stuff that we use in the game room. And right now we have Contra on the TV. And I grew up Contra. Now I didn't have it. I had like Super Mario Brothers, and I had Kung Fu, and my friend down the street had Contra, and I would go over there and we'd play after school. We'd play Contra 2-player and try to get really good at it and try to play all the way through the game. And I have a lot of good memories of playing this, and it's definitely a hard game to master. And it's been so long since I've tried to play all the way through it that I'm probably terrible at it now. But I remember there was a time there where my buddy and I were pretty good at this game. And yeah, it's just, you know, classic. You can't go wrong with a little old school Contra. And then we have some more consoles hooked up here. And we've got our Wii U, which is a nice little place to have that. And Leaf likes to come in here and play a little Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. And then we have the PlayStation 2 hooked up to this TV via component cable, which is really nice. The picture looks amazing and it sounds great, and it's nice to have that hooked up via component. And then we got some wireless Atari 2600 controllers there for the plug-and-play Atari 2600 system that we have. And then we have a Blaze two-person arcade fight stick there, which is awesome to have. And we can hook that up into the PS2 and play a little, you know, I don't know, Street Fighter, whatever you want. There's all kinds of awesome fighting games on the PS2. And that's always fun to do. And then moving over here, we've got our Game of Thrones statue. Now this was another pretty epic little thrift store find. Leaf and I were at a St. Vincent de Paul, and I saw this in its box up kind of above on the counter, kind of out of the way, and I saw it, and I ended up talking to the manager there about it. He's like, oh, that's been there forever, no one wants it, I'll give you a really good deal. And long story short, we ended up getting that for, I hope I'm saying it right, I think it was $18. It was really cheap, and we made a video about it, so you can refer to that if you want to. I'll put a little pop-up in the corner right now. And I couldn't believe it, because this is a pretty limited edition statue, and it's got some value to it. And it's awesome, because I like Game of Thrones, I like that character. Brienne is really a cool character in that show. And this thing is solid, and it's really well done. It's pretty, it's painted well, and it's limited, and I'm just stoked to have it in the collection. And then Brienne is sitting on one of my favorite items in the game room, and this is our custom Resident Evil storage locker. And this was a very early DIY project that Leaf and I took on when we had our channel. This was one of our early DIY projects, and we wanted a way to display our Resident Evil collection, because it's definitely one of our all-time favorite franchises. And we went ahead and we picked up this storage locker at a Goodwill, and it was all beat up, and it was like kind of falling apart. We got it for super cheap, and we fixed it up, we sanded it down, we gave it a custom paint job, and printed out a custom umbrella logo there for the door. And then why don't we take a look at inside? And here is our Resident Evil collection. Oh, it looks like my light fell down. So this normally sticks right up here, but I guess it fell off. So normally we have a light in here, so I apologize for the darkness. Let's see if the batteries are still good. Yeah, they are. So I'll shine a little light in there so you can see. So we have a custom PlayStation 1 there with the umbrella logo on top, and that was another little DIY project, which we always enjoyed doing. And then we have the early PlayStation era Resident Evil games, which are some of our favorites, and certainly I have a lot of love for all those games. Resident Evil 2 is my favorite Resident Evil game, but I almost love them all. I didn't really care for 6, but certainly the newest one, 7, was awesome. I really enjoyed playing through that. We have that on Steam. We don't have a physical copy of that, unfortunately. But the first Resident Evil was at the time really scary, and I enjoyed playing through it, and it's kind of laughable now because it's not very scary, but it certainly was back when it came out. And let's see, now that controller is not a Resident Evil controller, but it just looks at home in here. It looks like a Resident Evil controller, so it lives in here. And then moving down, we have some like Resident Evil movies on the PSP, the UMD movies. And then we got the PS2 era Resident Evil games, and we've got Resident Evil 5 on the PS3, the Gold Edition, and Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64, which is awesome to have. And then moving farther down, we got the Wii Resident Evils, and just all kinds of great stuff. And it's just fun to display it in this cabinet like this. Really stoked to have that. And then we did a little custom theming here. This is like a badge, basically, for who was it? I forget the name. Director James Marcus, who was a Umbrella employee, and I thought it would just be kind of a fun little nice touch there for the door, and add a little custom theming element to that. So very cool, stoked to have that. And then over here we have our PlayStation 1 collection, and I love the PlayStation 1. So many great games, so many great franchises that came out for the PlayStation 1. And we got some long boxes here, which are really nice to have and very cool. And then we have a whole bunch of great games for the PlayStation. I'm not sure how many PS1 games we have, but this little holder here, this little storage tower, is almost full, so we're going to have to figure out what to do when that completely fills up. Moving up here, we have a perler piece that Leaf and I made. And this is a Lara Croft perler piece, And Leaf and I enjoy making perler art, and that's one of our favorite pieces that we've done. And moving over here to the Neo Geo arcade cabinet, definitely one of the highlights of our collection. Really stoked to have this. We've gotten so much joy out of this cabinet already, and we haven't even had it that long. And we're actually doing a series where Leaf and I play all the Neo Geo beat-em-ups and then do kind of an overview or a review of them and share that, and we've been doing that on the channel. The next game that we're going to play is Burning Fight. And we did a video, a vlog of us picking up this arcade cabinet. If you want to check that out, I'll put a little pop-up in the corner right now and a link in the description below. And then we have some more awesome stuff over here, including a frame that has all the letters that people have sent to us over the years. And this is definitely one of the more meaningful items in the collection. We love to come over here and read these letters, and it's so nice to have them all in one spot. And it's just definitely one of our favorite items in the collection. And then over here we have our wall of Xbox games, and definitely a lot of solid titles here. Panzer Dragoon Orta and Shenmue 2 and ToeJam and Earl 3 and all kinds of great stuff. We have our limited edition Halo Xbox, and then all our Xbox, original Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One games, our Star Wars limited edition console there, and our little Xbox 360 storage tower with some controllers. And just kind of a cool way to display all our Xbox games, and we definitely get a lot of joy playing those. And then recently we did a little DIY project where we painted this wall and added the stained glass film to the French doors here, and did a whole bunch of little DIY projects. And if you want to check that out, that'll be another video that I'll leave a link to in the description below. And guys, that is the downstairs game room. So I think what we're going to do now is go ahead and head upstairs and take a look at the upstairs game room. Before we head upstairs, I thought you guys might be interested in seeing our living room set up, because we do have a lot of game consoles hooked up down here. And everything is hooked up to this television, which is a 60-inch Panasonic Vera. It's a plasma television, and it has an awesome picture, really good black levels, and I'm really happy with it. So I'm in no hurry to upgrade to a 4K television, although I'm sure eventually a deal too good to pass up will come along, and I'll make the plunge into 4K, but for now this works great. As far as consoles, we have a Sony PlayStation 3 hooked up to this television, and I use that as a Blu-ray player for movies as well. And then an Xbox One, and there's an empty spot there, and that's where the Wii U was hooked up, but I went ahead and moved that into the downstairs game room and opened that space up so that we could finally, in 2018, pick up a PlayStation 4. And yeah, I know, I don't know why we don't have one. There's no good reason. It's just an instance of so many games and so many game consoles, and there's so much to play in so little time, it just kept getting pushed back. But I'm looking forward to finally picking one up in 2018 and playing a lot of those Sony exclusive games, and I can't wait for that. We have surround sound hooked up to this television. We've got Onkyo speakers, so we have 5.1 channel surround sound. There's the left channel, the center channel, the right channel. We have it hooked up to a Sony 1000 watt receiver. And then over in the corner, we have a 12-inch subwoofer, and that produces a lot of bass, which is awesome. And then we have our surround sound satellites up nice and high by the ceiling, which is where you want them so that you can get optimal surround sound, kind of bounce that sound wave off of the ceiling. And then we have another one up here, and they're both centered to where we're sitting on the couch. So when we're sitting on the couch, the sound is meeting us right in the middle, and we're getting that kind of optimal surround sound. And it definitely is a really good movie-going experience or game experience when you're just kind of chilling out on the couch and playing a game or listening to a movie with awesome surround sound. And let's see what else. We've got a wireless keyboard down here, and we've got our dish DVR for our cable. And the wireless keyboard is there so that I can use my small form factor gaming PC, which I have hooked up to this television. And this was a collaborative project that my brother and I took on over the summer. We wanted to build a computer that lives out in the living room, and just something that didn't look out of place in the living room and kind of just hide away, but we could enjoy playing Steam games while sitting on the couch with an Xbox One controller and playing with maxed out settings. So we built this. It's the Ryzen Raven, and we call it that because it's got a Ryzen CPU in it, and then it's in a Raven case by Silverstone, which you can see we have it hiding here. And this thing's awesome, and it definitely is a beast, and I love it. And then we have our switch on this side back here. And that's nice because we can just, if we want to play in handheld mode, we just grab that. And if we want to dock it, we go ahead and just dock it and play on this TV with the Pro Controller. And that's really sweet. And then we have RGB lighting here. So right now it's red, but we can change the lights behind the TV to whatever color we want. And yeah, just a really cool, comfortable spot to hang out, chill out on the couch, watch some movies, play some games, listen to some music, whatever it is we want to do. And definitely really happy with it. So why don't we go ahead and go upstairs and we'll check out that upstairs game room. Alright guys, we're in the upstairs game room, and this is the first game room that we put together in this house. Now when I was looking to purchase a home, like the #1 thing on the wish list was a game room space, because in my last house I had a very small little kind of closet sized game room, and when I moved here I was definitely happy that there was this big space upstairs that I could deck out however I wanted, and it's been a lot of fun kind of adding to it and switching things up and making it a comfortable space to play games when friends come over and family comes over. We can hang out, play some old retro video games, listen to some music, or play a little pinball. And speaking of pinball, here is our Bally Fireball pinball machine. Now, Leaf and I went to Portland and picked this up several years ago, and it had been totally neglected. It was left out in the rain, it had graffiti all over it, it didn't work at all, and it was definitely in sorry shape. So we got it for dirt cheap, and we brought it home, we put it out in the garage, and we did a light restore on it and fixed it up, and I think it's in pretty great shape here. There's, a couple little issues here, like there's this, where people put their hands over the ears, but that adds a little character to it and doesn't bother me at all, and it works great, and it's a lot of fun. When people come over, they all seem to really enjoy playing a little pinball on this. Now, this was a home pinball machine that Sears put out in 1978, I believe. I actually have a little advertisement flyer over here, which you can see. So, back in the day, in the 70s, Sears sold these through their stores, and you could bring it home and you could play pinball, and I think that's pretty awesome. And it's a pretty legit pinball machine, considering you could go into a Sears and buy it. And I quite like it. Now, at some point, I've considered possibly getting a different pinball machine up here. I've always wanted like a Medieval Madness or a Twilight Zone, something like that. Now, those go for big bucks these days, so I'm not sure if that's ever going to happen. Also, this is a really nice looking pinball machine. I think it looks great up here, and we do get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So it's going to be here for a long time, that's for sure. Now, I did add a little LED light strip to the edges there. That is not original, but I like it. It's a nice little touch, and it needed a little lighting, I thought. Now, over here, this is the first thing that we ever put in our upstairs game room. It's the iCade, and when I first moved in here, there was this little alcove here, and I thought, oh, that'd be a perfect spot for a bar top like arcade. And I happened to be shopping, I think it was at Toys R Us or something, and I saw this iCade, and it was on clearance, and I happen to already have an iPad too, so I went ahead and picked that up, and I love this thing. I still play this all the time. Leaf plays it, friends and family play it when they come over. It's a lot of fun. Right now we have the Midway Arcade in there. And this is pretty cool because you can switch between the different games, and it's like you're in an actual arcade here, and it's got some of my favorite titles. So that's a lot of fun, and that works great, and what a good use for an older iPad. And let's see what else. We got our Jelly Belly machine that's a little low on Jelly Bellies at the moment. I need to go buy some more. A catapult, a Rubik's Cube, a slot machine bank, and then that light switch there, that's from ThinkGeek.com. That's the power up light switch. And this thing's really cool because, let's see if I can get in here, you can turn the lights on and off, and it lights up, and then also has sound effects. And that's a lot of fun. And that is attached to this light here, which I have a blue light bulb in. So that's kind of fun, and it kind of lights up this little alcove. And then there's a wall clock and a little sign that I printed out that says Classic Arcade, and it's got some of the various characters from old arcade games there, which is cool. On top of the iCade, I have a Bluetooth speaker there that just kind of makes the sound a little bit better and attaches to the iPad via Bluetooth, and so that sounds and looks great, and that's a lot of fun. Moving over here, we have our boxed Sega Genesis core system, And we have the Sega Genesis 6-button arcade stick and our boxed 32X, which is awesome. Down here we have our entertainment center, and we have an older flat screen television and a little kind of like Mario Brothers marquee that Leaf and I made, and we printed out some Mario Brother brick patterns there and put them all together using DVD cases. Just something to fill that space above the TV, because this entertainment center was originally used for a large CRT television, which filled up that space. So there was kind of that blank spot on top, and we're thinking, what can we put up there that doesn't cost any money, that we can just kind of make ourselves? And I think that worked out pretty well. And then we've got a sound bar hooked up to this TV, so it sounds nice. And right now we have the Dreamcast running with Zombie's Revenge, which is pretty awesome. And as far as consoles here, now these aren't actually hooked up here, because this is not the ideal TV to hook up a Super Nintendo or an NES. But certainly we can play Super Nintendo and NES on several different consoles throughout the house and on different TVs throughout the house. But that's where our original Super Nintendo and our original NES live at the moment. And those are both in really good shape, and it's nice to have those in the collection. And then we've got some overflow games. Now, we don't have many Sega CD games, so that's actually all of them right there. And the same with the Saturn. That's, you know, they're very small collections, if you could even call them that. But eventually, we'll start focusing on those collections and growing that, and see where that goes and where we'll put them in the game room. But for now, they live in here. And then we do have our overflow Sega Genesis games here. We ran out of shelf space for the Sega Genesis games, so those are in there. And then we've got our Dreamcast hooked up to this TV via VGA, so it looks really nice. It's definitely the best way to hook up a Sega Dreamcast, in my opinion, is via VGA, and you get that 480p resolution, and it looks really nice. And then we've got another GameCube there. We've got our overflow Dreamcast games. We'll look at the bulk of the collection here pretty soon. And then we've got some more Dreamcast games over in the right corner, and those are printed cover inserts from the coverproject.net. And then we have a VHS and DVD player there. And we've got another little spiral candy machine there. And that's cool. And then moving over here, we have our slot machine. Now this is a Skillstop slot machine, and this thing's crazy. This is the loudest slot machine on planet Earth. Now it's pretty awesome, but I'm going to put some quarters in here, and I'm going to back up just so I don't blow out your eardrums. Oh, I guess I already have credits in here. Here we go. So, and then you stop each reel independently, and you try to, you know, line up the various tokens. Now this is on the lowest volume setting, believe it or not. And as you can hear, it's like crazy loud. I hope that didn't blow out the mic. And yeah, but it's fun and it works well. And another thing that I kind of got a good deal on, I tracked down a nice deal on Craigslist many years ago and picked this up from somebody. And everyone seems to enjoy this, and this gets a lot of use as well. And then we have some miniature arcade cabinets up here. We've got the Centipede arcade cabinet, and we've got the Frogger arcade cabinet, and we just picked these up at Walmart. And they are $20 a piece, and I saw them while I was Christmas shopping. And I posted an Instagram photo of this, so if you follow us on Instagram, you saw that. And yeah, they're pretty cool. The gameplay on them isn't amazing. The joystick in particular I'm not really thrilled with. So, but they look cool and the price is right, so we picked them up. And then we have a little RC helicopter there, which is awesome. Moving down here, we have a Sega Master System hooked up, and that's hooked up to this television over here. And I love that thing. The Sega Master System, although I did not have one growing up, is a really awesome console, and I love it. And then we have a bunch of board games in here, and a bunch of board games in here. And over here we have our Sega arcade cabinet, and I built this, and that was a very fun project. And currently we have a Steam running on here. There's a laptop behind this arcade cabinet, and it's running Steam and the Sega Genesis Classics collection. So we can cycle between 55 different Sega Genesis games and play them, and it's just a fun way to play some Sega, old Sega games, and that was a really cool project to take on. And we printed out the marquee and put a light behind there and everything. It's got a little monitor in there and a laptop, and wired up all the buttons and all that good stuff. In here, in this ottoman, we have some controllers. Now you can see Kirby is kind of, our cat, Kirby, has kind of destroyed this, which is unfortunate, because this ottoman is really cool. Inside, we have a bunch of controllers, and then you can see in the lid here, it has little controller holders that you can put controllers in, and we have the Retron 3 controllers in here at the moment. But it's just a kind of a cool little ottoman. I got this on Amazon, I think. I forget what it's called, but it's pretty awesome. And then we have a CRT television here. Now this is one of my favorite spots to just kind of hang out and chill. I'll sit down on this couch, and we have a Retron 3 hooked up to this TV along with the Sega Master System. And right now we have a little Super Mario Kart going. And yeah, just play a little Super Nintendo, a little Sega Genesis, a little NES, whatever it is, and hang out and play some games on a CRT. It's a lot of fun. And then we've got our lava lamp, which is warming up right now. And once that warms up, it really gets going. It's a lot of fun to look at. And then we've got a cool little light fixture here. And this is a Earthworm Jim print that we got at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And we just really liked it, so we brought it home and put it on the wall. And then this is a new addition this year to the upstairs game room. When we completed our Sega 32X set, we went ahead and built this little display cabinet, painted it the Sega 32X colors, and hung it on the wall. So just kind of a cool way to display our 32X set, and those are all the North American games right there. And definitely one of our proudest items in the collection. And that was a fun goal to go for on the channel. It took us about a year, and you guys went with us on that journey of collecting all the games for the Sega 32X. And I really like the 32X. I know it gets a lot of grief, but there's a lot of good games, a lot of good arcade ports. Colibri really stands out as an excellent game on the system. And it's just a lot of fun to play. And I'm a big Sega fan. And let's see, we've got a nice view from up here. We live out in the forest, so that's always nice to hang out and check out the squirrels and the deer. And then we've got a comfortable couch here now. This is another casualty of Kirby. She's really doing a number on this couch. So yeah, what are you going to do? You know, if you have cats, there's not much you can do. And then there's this cool globe, and that's all made out of gemstones. This was an anniversary present that I got many years ago, and it's really pretty. It's got just various gemstones, and I really like that thing. And then we have a little table here, and I covered this. This is actually a glass panel that I covered with felt, green felt, and we use this to play board games on. So the family all comes up here, and we pick out a board game, and we have some more down here. And we like to play games, and this is just a fun spot to hang out and enjoy life, enjoy some games, and eat some popcorn, which we have a little popcorn machine over here. And this thing's pretty awesome, although we don't use this as much as we used to. I definitely, we need to get back in the habit of using this, because the thing, you know, it's pretty cool and it makes good popcorn. And then we got our runt dispenser there, and I do enjoy runts. And then we got some of our non-Nintendo handhelds. Now all the handhelds are in Leaf's Nintendo Handheld Gaming Zone. And we just did a video of that on the channel very recently. So we're probably not going to take a look at that today. But if you want to see Leaf's Nintendo Handheld Gaming Zone and the Nintendo Handheld Collection, watch that video. I'll put a pop-up in the corner right now and in the description below. And it's a really awesome collection. She's done a great job kind of collecting for Nintendo handhelds over the years. But as far as non-Nintendo handhelds, we have our PlayStation Vita, and we have our PSP right there, which I really enjoy. And then you can kind of see me in the reflection there of the iPad Mini. And I kind of hang out up here sometimes and watch YouTube videos on that thing. And then just a box for the iPad, and I have that there just because behind there is all my charging cables. So anytime we need to charge something, I have those there, and I can just plug it in. And just kind of an easy way to charge the various handhelds. And that's awesome. And we have an art print there by an artist I really enjoy. And I'm trying to, this space up here is, the goal or the intent behind this space is not to let it get too carried away. Now, I say that, and we have, you know, all these video games and all this stuff up here. But I do want it to be a functional space that friends and family who aren't necessarily big into retro video games can still come up here and be comfortable, and there's enough space to move around. And this is unlike the downstairs game room that's kind of floor to ceiling stuff. I do want to kind of keep this in check a little bit and make it just a nice space that's comfortable for everybody. And yeah, so let's see, what else do we have? Here's our hi-fi setup, and this has gone through a bunch of changes over the years, and this has come a long ways, and it sounds really good now. I'm really happy with it. So recently I was at a Goodwill and I found these Bose speakers, and they were $10 a piece, and they sound great. They're way better than the ones I had up here before that. And this Technics turntable is another thrift store find, and that was very inexpensive. And we've got our receiver there, and we've got the CD player, and then we have some of our vinyl records and some of our CDs, and I have a bunch more vinyl in a large kind of vinyl storage cabinet in our guest room over here. But yeah, I like hanging out up here, and you can see we have the little lights there going, so it's kind of like a little disco party in here at the moment. And it's fun to put on a record and listen to some music and just chill out in this upstairs game room. It's always a lot of fun. Over here we've got a lion statue, and we've got a slot machine there, which is pretty awesome, and that's a slot machine in a bank, and that's pretty cool. We have a little cabinet there with some miscellaneous stuff in there. Another art print. This is a Weiland, a signed lithograph by Weiland, which is pretty awesome because he's a very famous artist, and it's a nice piece in there. Even though it's not gaming related, I do think it looks good on that wall, and it's nice to have. And then coming over here, we've got a sarcophagus, and inside of the sarcophagus, now I picked this up years ago. When I was a young man, I worked at a furniture store, and this was on clearance, and I picked this up because I really liked it. And it's kind of hard to see, but we have some Sega Master System games. That's where our loose Sega Master System games are. And then we have our Sega Game Gear games in there as well. So kind of a cool spot for some of those loose games and some of the smaller sized games. And we have room to grow there, so that's awesome. Moving over here, we've got our PlayStation 2 collection. Now, we've done collection videos on all our various different collections. So if you want to see in-depth looks at the various collections we have, you go ahead and watch those. We have a playlist on the channel of all our collection videos, and a little more of an in-depth look at those. But we've got lots of great PlayStation 2 games, and we come across these all the time when we're out game hunting. It seems like PlayStation 2 is the most common system that we come across, so we've gotten a lot of really good deals over the years, and this collection is filled in very nicely, and we've got some solid titles in there. So really fun system to play, and really fun system to collect for as well. And then we've got another window here. Now moving over here is the wall video games, and I have a lot of plans for this moving into 2018. We're starting to run out of room up here, and I don't want to totally change this because we already have these media shelves here, and I don't necessarily want to buy all new shelving and go too crazy. So I was trying to think of ways to create more storage room on this wall and still make it look nice, but kind of future-proof us a little bit. And the space that seems to be the most likely candidate is along the top here. And on Amazon I found these kind of floating shelves that I thought would work perfect. So I'm going to probably put shelving all the way along the top here, and that's going to give us room for probably about 500 more games. So that'll last us for quite a while, and we'll be able to grow this collection. And that's good because there's a lot of games that we still want to get for both the NES and the Sega Genesis in particular. So here we have our Super Nintendo collection, and this is starting to fill in pretty nicely. This is one of our smaller collections because another system I did not have growing up. I had a Sega Genesis. Now my friend down the street, my best friend, he had a Super Nintendo, so I'd go over there and we played Donkey Kong and Super Mario Kart and all those great games, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I did not have one, so another system I don't really have nostalgia for. But that said, whenever we come across a good deal on a Super Nintendo game, we definitely pick it up because it's a great system. There's so many good games. And there's several that I really want to get in 2018. I think the one that I want to get the most is Super Metroid, because I love the Metroid games, but I have not played Super Metroid, which is almost like sacrilegious. I really need to pick that up because I know that game is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to play it. And I would like to play it on a physical cart, and hopefully we'll find a good deal on that in 2018. And there's our box Super Game Boy. We got that at a garage sale. It was one of our nicer garage sale finds. We found a bunch of Super Nintendo games and accessories and the console, and we got a heck of a deal on that in one of our On the Hunt episodes. That was really exciting. And then over here is our NES collection, and I'm really proud of this collection. It's grown a lot over the few years that we've had this channel. And you can see that we have them all alphabetically organized with these little markers that I made. I printed those out so that we could organize this alphabetically and easily find all our games. And just kind of a nice little touch to our collection to make it convenient to find a game, and it looks nice as well. And then we have little signs on top of our shelves here, which is kind of cool. We've got a Nintendo sign, we've got a Sega sign, and a PlayStation sign, and that's pretty awesome. As far as NES, you know, we've got all the kind of staples like the Contras and the Adventure Islands and the Castlevanias and the Metroid and all that good stuff, and the Marios, of course. And still lots of titles I want to pick up for the NES, though. So lots of room to grow there. Down here we've got our Sega Master System, our boxed games, and some pretty cool stuff there. Definitely a smaller collection, but I do love picking up those Sega Master System games, even though those boxes are kind of a little bit on the ugly side, I'd say. And probably my pride and joy as far as collecting goes and just playing would be the Sega Genesis. Now, when I got my Sega Genesis, I fell in love with it. I loved playing Sega Genesis. Although I certainly, getting an NES is when I first kind of fell in love with video games in general. The Sega Genesis took it to another level for me. Games like Sonic the Hedgehog and Streets of Rage and Toe Jam and Earl and Zombies Ate My Neighbors and all these amazing games that were just kind of blowing my mind as a kid. And when I started getting into collecting, I knew I wanted to have a nice Sega Genesis collection. And I think this last year in particular has been really good to our Sega Genesis collection, and we've got a lot of great titles like Crusader Ascenti there, and Moonwalker and Truxton, and just all kinds of great stuff. And we've got, you know, like this Splatterhouse 2 and 3 cart from Mr. Wizard, and we've got so many great games, and I love coming up here, grabbing a cart, going downstairs, and playing a little Sega Genesis on our CRT television, which is awesome. And then we've got some kind of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic prints that are kind of on like a papyrus paper, and just kind of a nice little something to hang on the wall, and it's not gaming related, but it's cool, and I like it. And over here we've got our PlayStation shelf, and this has our PlayStation 3 games, you can see there, and then it has our PSP games, our PS Vita games, and then we have some PlayStation 1 games that we have loose that we're making reproduction boxes for down at the bottom. And this shelf, I just recently kind of moved things around over here. There's still lots of room to grow here. And the PlayStation collection's a little all over the place. We have the PlayStation 3 and the handhelds here. We have the PlayStation 2 there and PlayStation 1 downstairs. So I may do something about that and change that up a little bit in the future. But for now, it certainly serves a purpose. And then over here is our PC collection, and I love PC gaming. I had a gaming PC, well, I had a PC, I should say, when I was a young man. And I don't know if you'd call it a gaming PC, but I did like to play games on it. And there's all our World of Warcraft games up here, by the way. We have a kind of a shelf just for that, because I got pretty sucked into World of Warcraft there when it came out, and I was playing it very heavily, and I put a lot of hours into that game. And then I love collecting these big box PC games. Now, I think I'm pretty much out of space, unfortunately, for big box PC. And I really don't see a place in the game room where I'm going to be able to expand this collection. So, except for maybe a few titles that we're looking for, I think this collection's pretty much filled in. But certainly some highlights here would be like The Seventh Guest. And the mansion that this house is based off of is actually about an hour or two away from us, and we went there on the Hunt episode that you guys can check out, and that was a lot of fun, and we had a nice meal at that house, and that's a game that I grew up playing, and Leaf and I actually played all the way through that for our Halloween special last year. And then of course Police Quest, and Myst, and Command and Conquer, and all these games that I grew up playing, and King's Quest, and awesome games I really enjoy. And then if we come into here, I'll open this up here, we got, as you can see, a whole bunch of PC games. I'm not going to go through all these, but yeah, we have a bunch of them. And then over here is our small Nintendo 64 collection. And this is something that actually, although it's still really small, we've gotten some good titles in 2017. We got Donkey Kong 64 and Banjo and Kazooie, and we got 1080 Snowboarding, and just a bunch of really fun games. And I have this whole wall here open so that if we wanted to expand the Nintendo 64 collection in the future, we have room to do it. So just kind of a cool spot to have those games. And then over here is my Dreamcast collection. Now, guys, I love the Sega Dreamcast. When this came out, it was kind of mind-blowing. Oh, and I'm just noticing my sign slipped a little bit here. This came out of its frame a little bit. I'll have to fix that. So, as you can see, I made a little Dreamcast sign there, and I put all the games on this wall with these floating CDs shelves here. And it's kind of sad to see them all loose, I know. So I had a Dreamcast. I bought a Dreamcast on launch day, 9/9/1999, and I was so hyped for it. Absolutely loved it. It was like I could finally play arcade quality graphical, games at home, and it was really an incredible experience. And games like Shenmue just blew my mind. I mean, talk about an incredible game, especially at the time. They worked on this for like 7 years or something like that. I mean, some huge amount of time. And this came out, and oh my god, it was the most amazing game I've ever played in my life at the time. And that's not all. I mean, Skies of Arcadia, talk about good games. That's one of the best RPGs ever. And Dino Crisis and Resident Evils, and let's see what else, Power Stone and Soul Calibur, and all these amazing games. And these are all my original games from 1999, and during the lifespan of the Dreamcast, I collected them. And at some point, as a teenager, space, I probably lived in an apartment or something and didn't have space for anything, so I took all my games and put them in a binder. And it's really sad because I would love to have all the inserts and cases for these games because there's some good titles in here. But I don't. But at least I have all my original games, and this is a cool way to display them. And it's easy enough to come up here and, if I want to play a little Power Stone 2, I can just grab it and play it. And I still have my original Dreamcast too, which is still working great, which is kind of incredible considering how many hours have been put into that system over the years. And guys, I think that's it. That is both game rooms, upstairs and downstairs. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. I know that was a long video, but I wanted to kind of take my time and share everything in detail with you because I think it's fun from a viewer standpoint to see the collection grow and change over the years, and I can't wait to see what this year brings to the game rooms. I know that Leif and I are always changing things, improving things, adding to the collection, and we're definitely looking forward to doing that in 2018. I think this is going to be a great year for our collection, for our channel, for the game rooms, and I can't wait to just start working on it, improving it, and sharing that journey with you guys. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.